What up, people? It's your boy Chig from Guna Eagle Eye, excuse me. Coming to you again with a brand new video. Sorry. Just realized my microphone was like below me, like, oh shit. I'm not quite set up yet. Look at this. Fucking professional. That's what you like. You like the raw shit. So here we go. Welcome to Chig's late night discussions, where I'll be talking to you about late night shit, really. We'll be talking about all sorts of football stuff. Now, I'm going to apologize nice and early because you may be able to hear it in my voice. I've got a cough. So subsequently, like some sort of alky, I'll be drinking this. And I've got some honey and lemon next to me. I might be adding that to a glass. So, excuse me. Hold on. Just fancy some now. Gosh, it's terrible. I'll put that in a glass next to me. Woo! Okay, let's do it. Late nights with Chig. So yeah, the purpose of this really was to kind of discuss football issues, not just issues relating to Arsenal. At the moment, there's a heated topic about Granit Xhaka. Would he stay? Would he go? That's going to be tomorrow's. So I'm going to... I've just seen VP. Thank you for your 2 donations. Evening to you. And I've just done a shot, so I'm going to save it for another time. And morning to VCC. Apparently it's morning over there. Basically, wanted to do kind of... Again, I didn't want to do it this late, but my voice was in such a state. I just thought, let me give it an hour or 2. So I've given it 2 hours. It still hasn't improved, so I just figured let me bang this out real quick. But obviously the transfer window is closed now. It's closed in Europe. And we still have Shkodran Mustafi. Please don't let the Xhaka stuff, the Mkhitaryan departure, distract you from the fact that Shkodran Mustafi is still here. I guess he found Carl Jenkinson's old hiding spot, kept himself buried there nice and quickly, and yes, he is still here. I probably expect him to go in January, where we hopefully will have an opportunity to end our nightmare with him. It'll be interesting to see now if Emre decides to integrate him back into the team, particularly as we start our European journey and as we start our Carling Cup stuff. Because obviously the draws for those 2 competitions have been made. So I'll be interested to see if he now plays a part in that. The worry is I don't want Rob Holding learning a flipping Mustafi. I definitely don't want that. Call him Mushy Peace. Thank you for the donation, mate. So yeah, I think from our point of view, I suppose this video is about rating our transfer window as a whole. And it didn't get started for a long time. We picked up Martinelli very quickly. I don't know about you. I'm very excited about the kid. I think the kid clearly has something about him. I think he'll end up being a striker rather than a left winger. I think that is the long-term plan. I think they want to see how he adapts first. Because I also think they have long-term plans for Saka. So Saka plays that left-hand side. It'll be interesting to see where Martinelli plays. And actually, I'm looking forward to playing something like the Carling Cup just to see how Saka and Martinelli work together. Because I've got a feeling they're going to be a hell of a combination together. They're very similar players, both very nimble on their feet. The only thing I'll say for Martinelli is bigger, is more of a physical specimen than Saka is. Saka's more of a small, is more of a... I'm trying to think of a better word for small, but I can't at the moment. Excuse me, guys. oh man, sorry. So yeah, I was trying to think of a better word for small, but it'll be interesting to see how Yeah, I guess it'll be interesting to see how those two work going forward because that's a big part of our future there. It wouldn't actually surprise me if Saka ends up being a striker himself. Because watching him play, especially for the under 23s, and I'm starting to invest more and more time in those under 23s because it seems like whether it's Emre or part of the club's philosophy is to focus on these youngsters. We've invested a lot in them. And yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see how we move going forward. But Martinelli looks like an excellent prospect. And then nothing happened for a while until something happened. And that was we finally had signings, except one of them isn't actually going to come into the team until next year. But I think we can all agree looks like a great prospect. Currently injured at the moment. But it'll be interesting to see once he comes back from that injury, how he plays for Saint Etienne and kind of get an idea of the player that we're going to get. Because in my view, him alongside Holding is the defensive partnership I want to see, unless we could get an Upamecano or a Kunute. I'm pretty convinced we're not going to get Upamecano. I think Man City with this Laporte injury will go and get someone like an Upamecano. But why not go and get a Kunute, who I think is the better defender anyway? So I say go and get him, play him alongside, and then you have someone as capable as Rob Holding stepping into the play and Chambers, and those are your four defenders. But you can move on past this David Luiz bullshit. You guys know I'm not a huge fan of his. Yes, I think Socrates played a major fault for yesterday. I also think David Luiz did in the same move. So I don't know. And, thank you to the 28 people who are watching me at the moment, 29 people. Please do stick a like on this video. It does help more and more people to notice the video. Pray for the Bahamas. Now, Hurricane Dorian is heading towards Florida. Well, that is a worry because my mate is in the Caribbean. So that is a huge concern. I'm going to holler at him shortly. And in terms of, what happened and what we did, we bought Saliba in and then we bought Ceballos in, who I said at the time has flashes of Santi. I'm not necessarily saying he's the new Santi. I'm just saying he has flashes of brilliance to him. Integrated it to the crowd very quickly, saying all the right things, Just before yesterday's game, he was talking about Antonio Reyes and the fact that, he was his idol and he misses him and he's proud that he gets to follow in the same footsteps. So clearly you have a Real Madrid player who's very proud of the fact that he plays for Arsenal, seemingly. I think he'll end up going back to Madrid because he's so determined to make it for Madrid. But actually, I think it's a shrewd bit of business, albeit an expensive bit of business. His loan signing is said to cost about 15 million. And if Real Madrid were to sell him, you're looking at a region of 60 million for him. And you best believe, I guarantee Real Madrid will put on some sort of sell-on clause on that or buyback clause on that. But he looks like a fabulous technical player. Even made a difference when he stepped on the pitch yesterday. So that in itself is a pretty good signing. And then we moved on. And then Stan decided, or Josh decided, or the family decided, you know what? It's time for Arsenal to show we got a big dick. Now we got a big dick. And we just decided to slap it down and spend 72 million, albeit over 5 years, but 72 million on Nicolas Pepe. And in the process, embarrass the press, which I will always co-sign. Embarrass the press that for weeks have been talking about the fact that we have 40 million spent, 45 million spent. They were left embarrassed. They were left red-faced. They didn't know how to explain it. They're like, oh, well, maybe because it's in installments. That's how Arsenal are able to do it. Motherfucker, even if that was the case, it still takes us over the 40 million. Even if you divide 72 by 5, right? And you add that to the rest of the money that we supposedly spent this summer, it's still over the reported 45 million you're talking about. So just take the L and move on. You don't know shit, basically. And that left them embarrassed. And in the process, Arsenal got one of my dream signings. One of my dream signings. Chig's late night OT fun. Thank you, my brother. Thank you for the donation, VP. Thank you. And we got a dream signing, for as much as I was banging on about Ziyech. And listen, I still want Ziyech. I don't know how he'd fit in this fucking team, but I still want him. But especially if Ozil goes, for me, that's your perfect replacement. Yeah, in the process, we got someone who I've wanted for so long. And fucking hell, I was arguing with someone just before I came on here, right? On Twitter, right? Nice enough guy, follows me, nice enough guy, but this one, I'm just like, what are you talking about? He was talking to me about the fact, me and Drew, who is also a friend of the show, friend of the Gooner Talk, mainly on the Gooner Talk. The Gooner Talk is also a friend of the show, so if you're not already watching them, please do hit that subscribe button for them. Called Drew Thompson. He's based in New York. And me and him, somehow I got caught up in this. Basically, I commented on a thing where Drew was saying that it's ridiculous that people are commenting on Nicolas Pepe and saying that, are disappointed in his progress, which I completely sign. I completely co-sign. Because it's unbelievable. Even on my fucking stream yesterday, you had people calling him the French Javinha. It's like, motherfucker, first of all, just because he speaks French doesn't mean he is French. He's from the Ivory fucking Coast, all right? And I just thought to myself, these people, but I knew it would happen. I knew that if Pepe hadn't scored in his first 5 games, people were going to fucking pull their hair out, say he's overrated, talking this wild shit. And that was the stupid conversation I got into. And I'm going to go back to that same brother as soon as he bangs in some goals and say, what we said? What are you saying, bro? I can't wait. Because I know Pepe is going to be here. But it is what it is. And to me, I think that lifted the entire mood at Arsenal. Because at the time, people were talking, I care to you. Hell, even I got caught up in it. I did a couple of videos. You guys know, prior to this summer, I was not a huge fan of Stan Kroenke. But I'll tell you what, him, Josh, I don't know what it is. They proved something to me this summer. They proved that, you know what, now that they have full control over this club, they're going to show us what they're about. And in that, they took a large step to showing us what we're about. Now, there is big arguments. And in a way, part of me agrees that, well, if you could spend this money on Pepe, why wouldn't you go for a Maguire? Why wouldn't you go for a Koulibaly? Because if there's one thing we needed, it was a defender. Maybe in Saliba, it's a big fucking statement. Just read through the lines of what I'm trying to say here, rather than what I've actually said. Maybe in Saliba, spending 30 million on a player that they're not going to get until next year, they believe they've discovered the next Koulibaly. Because the one thing I will say for them, and one thing I've always said is, I fucking hate Wenger stories of, oh, well, I was looking at Cristiano Ronaldo before he became famous. I had a phone call with Messi, and he just opted to stay at Barca. I hate them stories. I hate them stories with a passion. And to me, maybe not suggesting he is. I'm just saying, maybe he is the next coming of Varane like people are talking about? We don't know. Clearly, they rate him high enough to do such a deal, because I've never seen Arsenal do this type of deal. Like, wait, they're spending 30 million on a player and they're not getting him until next year. Shit, it's got to be something special. So, I don't know. Then the deal, which I'm sure a lot of people didn't think was going to happen, but I said from day one, it will be a deadline day deal. And that was the Kieran Tierney deal. I think the longer that deal went on and the longer we didn't hear from him, because clearly he was trying to respect his boyhood club, the club that he's supported all his life. He wanted to move, but he didn't want to come out and say he wanted to move. Because with all due respect to the Scottish League, you get to a level, you know, there's a reason that fucking Brendan Rodgers potentially left Champions League football to go and manage Leicester City. Mind you, my man didn't even wait till the end of the season. He bounced in April. There's a reason, you know? And I felt that because of his loyalties to Celtic, in addition to that, I already knew about his injury with his the double hernia. I knew about that from day dot. You go and watch my video series on Chig Knows Best, where I talk about left backs. I mentioned Kieran Tierney, but I also knew that he wasn't going to be able to start the season. And that was why I didn't include him in the list. He was more of an honourable mention. So, excuse me. So I felt like with these sort of complexities, it would probably go down to a deadline day deal. Celtic weren't in the mood to negotiate. We just said 25 million or nothing. Arsenal, being the penny pinchers they are, oh, come man, 18 million and 7 million on top. 15 million, 7 million on top. Until Saturday kept saying, no, 25 up front. No, 25 up front. Until Arsenal eventually said, all right, cool. There's your 25 mil. And we've got a left back who we're all hoping and praying becomes the new coming of Andy Robertson, except the Arsenal version. And then we bought David Luiz, the only signing I must admit I'm not a fan of. The only signing who there is a huge question mark over. And we bought another double agent, because it seems like for the last 10 years we keep buying players that top teams don't want. Whether it's Sylvester, whether it's Mkhitaryan, whether it's Gallas. We have a history of it. We have a fucking history of it. Whether it's Benayoun, remember him? Which other teams don't want. Whether it's Petr Cech, or now, whether it's David Luiz. Notice these signings never work out. Speaking of that, let's move on to the sales. Today, it was confirmed that Henrik Mkhitaryan has left the club on loan to Roma, and that Roma have an option to buy for £15 million for Henrik Mkhitaryan. I must admit, I said this from very early on in Mkhitaryan's career. I wanted him to do so well. I wanted him to prove Stel wrong. For those of you who know who Stel is, he's a Man United fan that comes on this channel regularly when we're doing reviews. He'll be on the channel next month. I think we play United, or is it the month after? He'll be on then as well. And I wanted him to prove Stel so much, because Stel was like, you guys are going to get a dud of a fucking player. And bar the goal, bar his hat-trick in his debut, sorry, I say his hat-trick, his hat-trick of assists in his debut season, tell me what this guy's done. That's a done fuck all. And he rode that wave until people started to clock. He rode that Aubameyang wave as long as he could. That wave of, oh, well, you know, He's a former Dortmund guy. Aubameyang's a former Dortmund guy. This is the perfect guy to unlock Aubameyang, or maybe they can unlock each other. They have such a telepathic understanding, was the belief. But when you really dove into the facts and figures, Aubameyang's goals had fuck all to do with Henry Mkhitaryan. But people didn't clock that because people always have beamers for what's in front of them. And that's what I'm trying to say with people with this David Luiz thing. Don't look at Luiz as a new Arsenal signing. Look at David Luiz as a Premier League footballer that's been here and ain't improved. But again, people will see what they want to see. Like yesterday, I saw people saying, "Oh, David Luiz was all right. You know, he was a 6." Eh? Come on. So then Henrik Mkhitaryan. Then you had Alex Iwobi. Alex Iwobi was perhaps, other than Pepe, the biggest surprise of the transfer window. Because I think a lot of people had called for Alex Iwobi to leave, but I think many people assumed that Emre liked him. He was well liked. He was a homegrown guy. He represented a type of player that we didn't have in the squad. There's no way he would leave. I know I was shocked. I was very shocked. So yes, Chig does know defenders. Thank you, VP. I was very shocked. But much to people's surprise, I was also happy for him. Because I've said from day dot, he needs a move to a place where people will believe in him, people will root for him, people will trust him. And I promise you, he'll do well if he gets all those things. And listen, one thing I'll say for Liverpool people, they are passionate motherfuckers. And in Everton, I believe that they will give him enough belief to succeed and do well. They've got a good outfit. I do like Marco Silva. I think he's a good manager. And he even scored at the weekend. Scored a header. I didn't know Iwobi had it in him to score a header. And I, for one, even if I'm the only person, hope he does well. Because apart from anything, I'm Nigerian. So I want his podcast to do well for the international team. That was the biggest surprise of the summer, but his sale came cheddar. And £40 million, I would have sold it for that. Even I would have sold it for that. And then I'm trying to think of all the sales that we had now. We sold Ospina for £3 million. I mean, only Arsenal could sell a 30-year-old in their prime international keeper for less than £5 million. Fucking Liverpool sold someone called, I can't remember his name, something Kent today for £7 million to Rangers. I've never even heard of this cat. How the fuck are Liverpool always able to sell people for more money than we can? So just madness. Ryan Kent, that's the one, VP. That's the one. Then obviously, as you know, Aaron Ramsey left to go to Juventus. And we know the calamities of fuck-ups that cost us. And you guys know I wasn't ever Ramsey's biggest fan, but I respect him immensely for how professional he was towards the end of his Arsenal career. He could have tapped out. He honestly could have. He could have tapped out. I mean, fucking hell, Ozil's still here, and he looks as though he's more tapped out than Aaron Ramsey was. Aaron Ramsey gave his all towards the end. Arguably, played his best football for Arsenal towards the end. And moved on to Juventus. And you know what? If you're going to leave a club, that's the way you do it. Give you everything until the very end. You know? Give me some other departures, guys. I completely forgot some. Jenko. Big Jenko. Big Jenko left. Gone to Nottingham Forest. Good for him. For me, God loves a trier, but so do I. I never shouted him too much because yes, we all know he wasn't good enough. Of course, he was not good enough. He was not good enough. But to me, that was another person that gave his all. You know, there's very few players, I believe, give a shit about the club. He's one of them. I honestly think did. He can't sell himself, can he? So why wouldn't you stick around there as long as possible? If you're an Arsenal fan and you love being an Arsenal player, you'd want to stick around for as long as you possibly can. So I never, if you notice, I never really shot on him too much. I wish all the best for him. Every now and again, truth be told, I like Nottingham Forest. I like Nottingham as a city anyway. It's like a mini London, and I like Nottingham Forest. I think they're a massive club. So I hope he goes there and kills it. Quite honestly, I hope he's really good and helps drag them into the Premier League, because a club that size should be in the Premier League. You know. Thank you to double. Say double. Thank you to MH, Michael Harmison or Harmerman, who says, big love for Monreal. He deserved a chance to move on. He was a great servant for us and a very loyal player over the years. Monreal, I like Monreal for a long, long time. If you are a long-term subscriber of mine, you know me and Lee were big advocates for Monreal. Big advocates. Particularly 2 years ago when Ramsey won the Player of the Season amongst the Arsenal fans, and me and Lee were like sat there thinking, hold on, why didn't Monreal win it? But Monreal was crazy consistent that year, crazy consistent, and it was a mirror. It was weird to me that Ramsey was the one that showed. I thought Ramsey was all right, but he was nothing on Monreal. And then 18 months ago, something happened. It just got old. He got slower and old. But that's another one that no one can doubt his professionalism. And I do think that, you know, he gave as much as he possibly could to the club. And the fact that there was always rumors with him being linked to leaving the club, particularly even 2 years after he joined. I remember there was a rumor about him going to Atletico Madrid. And so this kind of move back to Spain was always a thing. You know, he's quite a shy, downbeat guy. And there was always this thought process that he was homesick. He was homesick. So much like Lauren Koscielny, who I'm going to get to his punk ass in a minute, much like Lauren Koscielny, I always knew at some point he would return home. And he did. For $4 million, probably the most you could expect in that situation for a 33-year-old left back, gone to Atletico Bilbao, and yeah, he kind of, it is what it is for him. He's gone home and gave an emotional tribute, which is on his Insta if you haven't had an opportunity to see that. And again, that's another one that I just have no ill feeling towards. Unlike our former fucking captain, Lauren Koscielny, who completely shitted on us towards the end. Now, don't get me wrong. If you asked me at the start of the summer, who would I have sold? To be honest, Koscielny would have been damn near top of the list. Because he's 34 years old. He was broken from the waist down. So I kind of would have thought, yeah, all right, I would have got rid of him anyway. But there's certain ways that you leave somewhere, you know, even if you leave your job, even if you absolutely hate your job, right? Say you hate your job. You don't write some shitty exit or resignation letter. You don't do none of that stuff. You don't start bad-mouthing the company. You try and act as professional as you possibly can. Even if they broke promises to you. Cool. You decided you wanted to leave. But be as professional as you possibly can. And chill. This fool. Oh, well, I'm going to act up because